the things we have in common are the things we struggle with, but we don't fit into a box. We have a lot of various interests that like will vary like based on the novelty. Like new hobbies will come and go. Like we can like learn a new thing really fast. So our interests are ever changing, right? Like
I would
yeah,
argue, this is probably controversial, but I would argue that we are some of the most nuanced people on the planet and are like the hardest to put in a box just because we have
yeah,
such extreme experiences where it's like you can
yeah,
be so good at something and then so bad at something like we
yeah,
just have
totally.
such a life of extremes that I think that we end up becoming very nuanced creatures that are very hard to put in a box.
Welcome to It's Just ADHD. We're two curious ADHD coaches, and we're going deep on the how, the why, and the strategies to get through the difficult moments and how to make the best of life with ADHD. I'm John, and I've got an adult diagnosis of ADHD.
And I'm Tarah, and I have a late in life ADHD diagnosis and an even later autism diagnosis. We're going to be diving headfirst into the messy and often complicated research around ADHD and autism. And we're bringing you along for the journey as we break it all down and make sense of everything.
Because sometimes it's just life.
And sometimes it's just ADHD. All right, well, welcome back, everyone. We have a fun episode for y'all today in which I have sacrificed myself for your benefit. So I noticed that I started getting these kind of like weird mental health ads on articles on my phone. And so I did the absolute worst thing for you, for the content, and I started clicking on them. I get
God,
more.
that's a very slippery slope.
Dangerous, right? So, all my personal info might be exposed online. Identity theft is a real thing, but you're going to get a great episode today. So I hope it's worth it. And John has not seen these ads. Apparently, he doesn't get these like weird ads. I don't know what I'm doing wrong and he's doing right. But he's going to live react and we're going to rate them. Let's see. Let's rate them on how reputable we think they are and maybe how compelling. How about that?
Is it a real thing?
Yeah, like, does this ad make you feel scared and wanna buy the product? And
Right.
do we think this ad is legit? And do we think the
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who make this ad are legit?
Yeah, yeah.
Alright,
Cool.
so let me give you your first ad.
Procrastination is not laziness. It's a lack of routine. Okay, that's the headline. That's the headline. Procrastination is not laziness. It's a lack of routine. Not sure I entirely agree with that, but I do agree that routines are helpful. No one tells you that once you find the right routine for your neurospicy brain, you'll cry because life was harder. You can finally focus and do things easily without getting overwhelmed. You just needed the habits for your unique brain. If you're struggling, try Fabulous. It was created by neuroscientists at Duke and proven to work. A 3-minute quiz could literally change your life. Just take the 3-minute quiz. You deserve to wake up happy. Build the routines that will get you there. Okay, so I've got some mixed feelings about this. First of all, I think routines are great. Routines are super helpful, but what I read from this ad is that it's saying that you need the right routine, like as if there's one routine that will solve all of your problems. The thing I know about neurodivergence, especially ADHD, is we have trouble sticking to routines. And it's not because there's a right or a wrong routine. It's because we crave novelty. And there are days where we have like super low energy, where we need like it's hard to get out of bed. The minimal thing is all we can do. And there are days we have a ton of energy and we can do everything. We also suffer from burnout. So, it's like laziness and routines don't always count for burnout or some of those things. And sometimes procrastination is like just being able to get to the task that you need or working up the energy. So it's fascinating that a 3-minute quiz is going to give you the one routine to solve all of it. When I think really what we need is like not a single routine, but an adaptable routine, a flexible routine that gives you the minimal thing for those hard days, and then the more predictable routine for the days when you have more energy. So I'm curious now. What is this product? They're trying to sell me that the 3 minute quiz is gonna solve all my problems because the neuroscientists at Duke solved my routine.
Yeah, I'm glad you had that reaction. I had a very similar reaction because when I'm, like, looking at the text of this, it's, like, not wrong. Like, nothing that they say is wrong. Like, yeah, routines help, and, procrastination is not laziness. I agree with that. But it also doesn't, like, feel right, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I looked into this a little bit more, and it is basically a habit planner, and again, kind of mixed. So it seems so I'm sorry, y'all. I did not test out any of these products. I will have my identity stolen for you, but I will not spend money on you. I apologize. So this one, it seems based on reviews and stuff a little bit more sophisticated than other habit planner apps. It seems a little bit more tailored to neurodivergence as well, because some of the other habit planners are like a checklist, and they're like, "Have you considered the checklist?"
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
"I sure have, thank you. If only I had thought of the checklist." And so one of the things that people did specifically call out is that it does habit stacking. So
That's
that
cool.
one's a really good one for neurodivergent people. And so an example, that's what it's called, right? Habit stacking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Do you want to like break it down a little bit?
Okay. Yeah, so if I will put food on the stove. So the way Thistle works is like the food is kind of like it's still fresh, but it's like also pre-made, and so you don't have to cut anything. You just throw it on the stove for 2 minutes, add a sauce, and then you're done. It's like a nice in between from like the
Hmm.
microwave food and like the like I have to cook the meal for myself. And so the why I'm explaining this is because there's effectively a built-in timer. The food is on like a skillet for, 3 minutes or whatever. And so because I'm already in the kitchen and I have a timer going, that's when I take dishes out of the dishwasher, put them away, and load it up because I'm like on the clock and there's fire and there's nothing more motivating than an open flame. And it's super effective, and I stay on top of my dishes because I also have to eat every day. And so that's what habit stacking is where you blend like two different habits, and like especially
Smart.
ones that are co-located, and try and like do them at once. So I liked that. I read a review from a therapist as well. She seemed to like this app. Apparently, this is a sponsor for Jessica McCabe, who has the How to ADHD channel, which I'm sure you all have seen before. So she must like it. However, it did get a number of negative reviews. So a lot of people just saying it like didn't work. And then some people also saying like, I guess basically you sign up for like a 7-day trial, and then it automatically starts charging you for like
Oh,
per
wow.
year, not like weekly, but like per year. And so some people accidentally got charged for a year. And so I felt like that is like a not very neurodivergent friendly charging practice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you're gonna have people sign up for a trial, and you're making an app for people who have issues with memory, working memory, and charge them and take advantage of them that way. That feels
Yeah.
predatory.
Yeah. So I felt like this is sort of a middle of the road uh ad, and hey, if it works for y'all, let us know in the comments. That's great. Like happy to hear that, but I'd I'd put this one middle of the road.
Yeah, it's interesting too because like planners are hard it's hard to make them stick, right? I think again, like what works for people who have ADHD is not like one routine or one planner. It's novelty. It's having a couple of different things to cycle through because ultimately, like you're gonna find the thing that feels great that day, and it might even stick for like that week. But after the novelty wears off, or after like you've spent a lot of time setting things up, you forget to follow it one day. That day turns into a week, and then all of a sudden you've dropped off, and it makes it hard to get back into it. So none of those things. It's hard to make those things stick forever, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just nice to have something else to try. So this app might be good, like for a while, right? It might be a good thing to have in your sort of in like your bag of tricks. But knowing that you can switch between this and something else can be helpful because you can always come back to that thing and it will feel fresh and it will feel new again. So I always tell people like it's great to have a few things to try rather than like the one thing that's going to work for everything because that's just not how we operate.
Yeah, we don't want single point of failure. And again, this app might actually work well for you. I don't know. We're more rating it off of the advertisements and not off of like the effectiveness of the ads. I have never used this app before or tested it or anything like that. So, not trying to discourage y'all if you think it would work for you.
I also like this as an opportunity to like talk about some of some of these like tricks and tactics, some of the things the ads are saying they can do to talk about. So, okay, this one says ADHD is not laziness, it is a depression response. Now, the thing about that is ADHD is not laziness. It's also not quite a depression response. It's a genetic condition, right? Yeah, so this says, I can't read the text here, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to. It says, procrastination is an emotional regulation problem. Procrastination is about being more focused on the immediate urgency of managing negative moods than getting on with the task. Once you learn simple truth of where it comes from and why you do it, it dissolves almost instantly, and you almost forget how to waste time ever again. If you're interested in discovering your dominant procrastination type, taking an assessment can be a helpful starting point. Okay, so this ad's got some big bold, it's got a big old header. It's got that text I just read, and then below that text there is basically a pie chart, and the pie chart is broken down in a couple of different. There's one, two, three, four. There's five segments of the chart. There's dreamer, mixed, perfectionist, overdoer, and worrier. And I'm assuming below that there's a list, and different things are highlighted in a list underneath each of those categories. So I'm guessing those are like the things those areas excel at, or something. Um, this whole thing feels wrong to me, and it's because like it's trying to frame procrastination as a problem that can be solved by some personality trait type thing. It's sort of doing the the sorting hat, like the wizarding personality type sorting hat for what kind of procrastinator are you, and we're gonna solve all your problems somehow. Thing is, there's a lot of reasons like people with ADHD might procrastinate, and it's not necessarily because of a personality type or a depression response. Sometimes it can have to do with depression. Sometimes it can have to do with anxiety. Most of the time, it has to do with overwhelm and not knowing where to start. And so, oftentimes, when people are procrastinating, what can be helpful is just like getting close to the activity, just starting the activity, just getting into motion. Because once you're in motion, it's so much easier to stay in motion and get into it. Sometimes that can be like just ramping up to it, or like playing a playlist, getting in the zone, getting in the mood to do whatever it is you need to do. So there's a lot of things that will help with procrastination, but the thing is, we'll procrastinate on different things depending on the day, our mood, our energy level, what happened the day before, what we ate, how much movement we're getting. There's so many things that affect it that it's not just like a singular type. So now I'm curious, what happened when you click on this? Like, what does it say? What are these different types, and what is this assessment gonna do?
So honestly, I didn't really look into this one further. I click on it, it tries to make you take a test, and I was like, absolutely not, because I was
Yeah.
so enraged by this ad that I was like, I don't want to assess its validity because it's not valid. So this one
Mm-hmm.
really rubbed me the wrong way because it feels insidious. And I don't mean that the creators are like bad people who are trying to like scam you. Like they may actually believe it and they may think that they're onto something, but the problem is this is kind of back to the problem where some creators on TikTok will come up with these theories and spread them, and they're just like unfounded, right? Even though it sounds like it could be plausible. So this idea that ADHD is caused by depression and it's a trauma response, unfortunately, is something that is like gaining popularity not only in like the TikTok world but also in the mental health world. And it's kind of because in part this physician named Gabor Mate, I hope I'm saying that right, Gabor Mate. So he is a he was born in Budapest in 1944, and so he was in Auschwitz. Or his family members were like killed in Auschwitz when he was 5 months old. So he has a tremendous amount of trauma because of the Nazis. And so he's talked about that a lot, that he has these like abandonment issues, and rage and despair and all this stuff, because of that early childhood trauma. And so he's a very popular physician who tends to chalk everything up to trauma. And so he ultimately wrote a book called Scattered Minds, A New Look at the Origins and Healing of Attention Deficit Disorder. And he kind of talks about ADHD and all this stuff as being a trauma response. And so we'll link you to a video from Russell Barkley where he kind of debunks this whole thing. Our savior, our king, Russell Barkley, who does all the ADHD research, who is a credible source. He is very displeased with Gabor. But this book has become popular, and so people tend to parrot that type of stuff on TikTok and say, "Oh, ADHD, it's a trauma response." And the reason that it feels like it should be right, but it's not,
Yeah,
is because
right.
so many of us with ADHD have early childhood trauma. We are more prone to trauma. It like there are myriad reasons why we develop trauma that are both physical and situational, in that like we get bullied more, ostracized more, like we get more disciplinary actions against us from teachers and stuff like that. And so it's both environmental and biological why we have trauma. And so it feels causal, but it's a correlation instead. It's not causal. ADHD is caused by genetics. And so that is what bothers me about this ad. The other pieces as well, like trying to categorize people: dreamer, mixed, perfectionist, overdoer, and worrier. Like those are
Right.
just like bullshit categories that they came up with. That's not based on anything. And so like again, I'm sure that the people who made this app are like lovely people. I don't think they're trying to hurt anyone, but I do think that at the end of the day it does kind of cause harm when you like base it off of nothing, and then you're like trying to peddle it and have it catch on when we do understand ADHD. We do know what causes it. We do have answers, and it's
Yeah.
not that.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's that one size fits all thing where it's like, oh, it's just you fit in this category, you have this personality type, and that's gonna once you figure that out, it's gonna unlock all this stuff. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying, where I think people are trying to find some reason. There's some reason they have ADHD. There's some excuse for it, right? Any reason besides the actual reason that it is,
Any reason besides genetics.
that's fine. Like people with ADHD are fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Like we operate. I think we operate in a world that is not set up for us, so things feel hard. And so because it's hard, we're always trying to find some easy way out, right? And I think because of that, there are people that are trying to take advantage of that.
I think people like to feel a sense of control. I think that's why people reject the genetics thing so much, because with genetics, and even with it not being epigenetic, because epigenetics can be turned on and off, but just being purely strictly genetic, it's like it's not in your control. You will be born with ADHD. You will die with ADHD. Um, but I think people may believe, oh, if it's a trauma thing, it can be healed. If it's epigenetic, I could change my environment and be healed. Or like I think parents sometimes do that too. Like, did I cause it in my kid? Should I feel guilt? And it's like the genetics thing is just almost so lack of control. Like it's like it just is what it is, that I think that probably makes people uncomfortable sometimes.
It's true. A lot of people who have ADHD do have trauma because of how they've had to adapt to the environment that can be cruel to them. And so people do get trauma. People do need to be healed. And like that's fine. That's good. We do need healing.
Yeah, heal the trauma, but you can't like heal the ADHD away.
And like therapy can help, and there's all these things that can help, and there's all kinds of things you can do to manage the condition. But just assuming that it's like a trauma response or a depression response, or it's like procrastination comes from some place and you can just cure it or whatever. There are a lot of wonderful things you can do to manage your ADHD symptoms that will make life a lot easier. There isn't one like quiz or test or product that is going to like solve all of those problems overnight, or with a 3-minute test or whatever.
One last thing I wanted to say before we move on, that kind of just like feels off, and I don't know what to make of this, is the fact that the language between the first ad and the second ad are so similar. So just to recap, the first ad says, procrastination is not laziness, it's a lack of routine. And then this one is, ADHD is not
Wow.
laziness, it is a depression response. And these are separate apps, separate developers, but I'm like, why are they so similar? Like that just, I don't know what that is. It just is weird. Like someone copied someone.
Yeah. Well, I think also they're responding to something. There's probably that language has probably been A/B tested a bunch, and so people probably click on it because, again, people are looking for an easy way out, and so they read something that's like, oh, here's something that explains something about me that feels easy because things are hard, and I don't want things to be hard. I don't want to take accountability, so let me just click this button because it's like right there in my face.
All right, you ready for the next one? All right.
Trauma responses. Again with these trauma responses. Wow. Okay, so what I'm looking at here, it's an ad, a tall ad that says that there's a headline that says trauma responses and then some illustrations of hands. And at the very bottom, there's a button, it looks like it says scan your palm. Now, it says trauma response according to your palm lines. And it shows the palm lines. And there's one, two, three, there's four illustrations. The first one says poor, and it's drawing a line from the index finger. There's a red line that goes from the index finger to like roughly the middle wrist, and then a blue line that goes from the index finger that kind of wraps around the bottom of the thumb. It says poor, flight response, workaholic, overthinker, anxiety, panic, difficulty sitting still, perfectionist, hyperactivity. All right, yeah, this is describing me, right? This is like these are things that I relate to. I'm getting ready to check my palm. Okay, the next one, rich. It's got a red line that goes across the top of the hand, just sort of below the fingers, and then a blue line that goes from like the bottom of the thumb and then across the palm, kind of horizontally. It says rich, fawn response, people pleaser, overwhelmed, no boundaries, lack of identity, codependent, appeasing, engaging. All right, yeah, I'm really into this one too. I'm already like I'm already all of these, both of these, so I'm getting ready to look at my palm. Ordinary. Okay, so this one has lines that are going down vertically down the hand. The red line's kind of going from the index finger down towards like the wrist a little bit. It's sort of similar to the one above, but like just moved slightly over to the right. So I'm not a professional. You know, I did go through a palm reading phase
You're not a professional palm reader yet?
when I was like, in high school, maybe like the ninth grade, when it's reasonable for someone to be interested in palm reading because of wizards and things. Okay, so friend response, trauma bonding, prolonged trauma, social engagement, lack of identity, self-critique, avoidance. All right, you see more words that are extraordinarily relatable and alarming. So genius, okay, what's genius? Genius carves across, got a red line that goes from the thumb all the way, kind of wraps around the middle of the hand horizontally, and then a blue line that wraps around the thumb, kind of from the middle of the hand down to the right toward the wrist. Flight response, anger outburst, controlling, the bully, explosive behavior. All right, now I want to know which one am I, because all of these describe a little different piece of myself, and it wants me to scan the palm. I don't know, Tara. This one feels pretty legit. I'm looking at my palm now. I'm pretty like I'm curious. I want to scan my palm. Which one am I? Oh wow. This is take the test. Are you a healer or an empath? On one side it's kind of green. It says serves as a bridge between physical and spiritual realms. Whoa, that's compelling. On the right, it's got connects heightened sensitivity to energies and emotions. And it's sort of like a brownish color. It looks like Magic the Gathering. These are fun. Yeah, these are fun because like it sort of plays on the
Yeah, they're kind of spooky.
and I say fun not because it seems like something I want to like engage with and would recommend and do with friends. Fun in that it's like completely ridiculous. It's like playing on that the sort of the spiritual side, but also like the side that you want to get into like games and role playing and things. And like, witchcraft is cool. These things aren't saying like these aren't like this feels witchcraft adjacent, right? It's not saying witchcraft anywhere, but like there's palm reading's an age-old thing. There are these like different energies and spirituality. It's fascinating because like people with ADHD can be so analytical. For some reason, those things are also fun. It's using words that are relatable. Like all these things, sure, you're describing things, but you're just putting a picture of a hand. There's no way your hand has anything to do with the kind of person you are. The lines in your hand are just where you're folding your hand from when you were a baby. It's just how your hand was formed. Maybe you have calluses. Maybe you went through some stuff. Yeah, this one's interesting. But it's telling me somehow that the lines in my hand are gonna reveal the kind of ADHD treatment I need, right? Or the kind of person that I am, or it's gonna sell me a product that's gonna make my life significantly better.
Yeah. Well, and so just to do a little teaser for y'all, I didn't want to interrupt you, John, but we do have an episode upcoming that we're currently planning that talks about the role of like religion and spirituality or lack thereof in the lives of folks who are
Very
autistic and
interesting.
ADHD, because there's, I think, some very interesting takeaways from that as well. But so it sounds like you found this extremely compelling, but also extremely not credible in terms of like helpful for people with ADHD, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think it's fun to think about, right? And it's just that it's fun to think about, and I think it's ridiculous enough that it doesn't feel as predatory as some of the other ones. It just feels kind of horoscopy, right?
Yeah. Well, so when I clicked on it, it literally is a site for tarot and palm reading. Um, and so like fair enough. Like they're actually pretty much showing you what they're doing because there's palms in the ad itself. But what I really, really didn't like about this one is that I don't really have anything in my search history that should indicate that I'm into like palm
Ah,
reading. And so I believe
interesting.
that this one was targeted to me because of the ADHD in my search history. Because I clearly do get targeted with ADHD related content all the time, and not ever like spiritual content or anything like that. And they are really co-opting language that
Mm-hmm.
is used by psychologists, right? In the psychology field, they talk about trauma, they talk about hyperactivity, perfectionism, people pleasing, and the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze responses. Like those are a thing. Now, you're not only one flavor of response. I think people um, can sort of make that a black and white thing where it's like, oh, I'm always a freezer or something, and that nobody is one thing. It's situational. It's again not a label to use to categorize yourself as much as that is a temptation to like self categorize. But these are all like legit terms. Even the kind of goofy second ad that they had where it's like, are you a healer or an empath? Are you connected with the spiritual world? Like empath is kind of it's not a psychology term per se,
But we're empathic, right? Like people with ADHD
right?
are tend to be more empathic. They tend to be more emotionally intelligent, right? They can relate to others because of like masking and having to navigate between environments.
It's like using both medical language and medical adjacent language, and it feels like it's written in a way to be
Yeah.
appealing to a population that's a little bit more at risk. And so if they were saying something like palm reading so that you can tell your future or like gain insights about yourself or whatever, that feels like a acceptable reason to get your palm read. And I'm not trying to like gatekeep. Yeah, I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
gatekeep palm reading or anything. Like anybody can palm read if they find that enjoyable, that's totally fine. But the fact that they're marketing it as like an answer to your trauma and using the word trauma and using like talking about hyperactivity and stuff feels like a little bit more predatory. It's not the palm reading itself, it's the way in which it gets marketed that I have a problem with.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like the lines in your hands are going to reveal your trauma response, and that like something about your hands have to do with how you respond to trauma. And it's that whole thing. It's playing on people's trauma and their experiences and what they've gone through in a way that's like it feels like there's some answer there or some way to like get some information to navigate through it when it's really like it's meaningless. And I think that's the part that feels kind of that feels weird and negative about it because these things can be fun. Like to your point, tarot's fun, palm reading can be fun, witchcraft is fun, Ouija boards are fun, right? Like, those are all horrifying. Yeah,
Yeah. Or horrifying when you're in high school and you do a Ouija board and you're like, "Oh my god."
right. But I think like to me, all those things are kind of in similar like sort of similar categories where it's like you can engage in this stuff because it's like a distraction or because it's interesting or because like there's a long history and tradition to tarot and palm reading, Ouija boards, witchcraft, all that stuff. It's fascinating from like a historical perspective, from like a even games or um, community building perspective. But in no way should it be like how you interpret and like respond to trauma or ADHD or like anything that actually probably needs therapy or actual medical treatment.
Totally. It's just like our
Yeah,
disclaimer to the
right.
podcast, right? Like this podcast is not a replacement for
Yeah.
medical treatment. Neither is palm reading. All right, you want to go to the next one?
Brain FM. All right, we got here. Music for ADHD. Okay, now this one's interesting to me. It's already calling me. Made so we have a square that's divided in two, and on one side there's it's like a illustration. What's that illustration style called? It's like flat graphic.
I have no idea. John is the designer and John does like music editing and stuff like that.
This one's speaking to me because but there's a name for that illustration style. I think it's flat graphic. I could be wrong about that. It's yeah, so it's flat illustration style, and Spotify repurpose songs. Oh, repurpose songs into playlists. X. Endless playlist hunting. X. 3 to 5 minute tracks that break focus. X. And then on the right, it says brain.fm. Music made for your brain with science. Green check. One click start, organized by task. Green check. 60 plus minute tracks to stay in the zone. Green check. Music for ADHD. Join 300,000 plus ADHD brains. Music made for your brain, funded by the National Science Foundation. Sponsored by Brain FM, the person that's giving you this ad. Now, I have extraordinarily mixed feelings about this ad because on the one hand, like music is a really effective way to focus, to stay in the zone, to get things done, to trigger like engagement, right? Like I've heard some people describe music like as a mind-altering drug because when you put on music, it changes your emotional state, right? That's valid. Um, and I use music a lot to get work done, to focus. And the thing that's like they're saying Spotify is bad because it repurposes songs into focus playlists and it's endless playlist hunting. I actually like making playlists, so that's something I enjoy doing. And I will make playlists specifically for focusing and for getting work done that are if they work for me. I will also do this with like mixtapes. But all of it is to say, um, music does work. And Spotify isn't bad. And I guess like 3 to 5 minute tracks can break focus, but they're if you're focusing and you make a good playlist, listening to the same playlist over and over again isn't necessarily a bad thing because it's not super distracting. And Brain FM, like I would be interested in this product if they didn't say that it was made for the thing that is give me mixed feelings about it is the fact that they have this product. So like I love the idea of music for ADHD, and I love the idea of like writing songs and writing music that is like sort of similar like the Pomodoro method or something that has like longer song times with like breaks in between it. That is very compelling to me. The problem that I have with this, and I think I'm not sure about, is where it says it's funded by National Science Foundation, music brain made for your brain with science. I'm just wondering how they're incorporating science into the whole like music made for your brain thing. Because again, it's just compelling. I think like there's a lot of good things about music. This app could be interesting. All of the stuff they say is bad about Spotify, I'm not sure that I agree with. And then the whole like backed by science, there's nothing here telling me that there's science involved. This is mostly like an anti-Spotify ad. They're just saying science. And so when somebody just says science, it makes me skeptical because I want to know how.
Okay, so you're saying compelling but not necessarily credible?
It could be credible. It's the science piece. I'm not sure how credible that science piece is. I don't know. That's giving me like it's it's making me my skepticism is going up. My skepticism sense.
Okay, so this one's kinda crazy. I clicked on it, and the part comparing themselves to Spotify, that part doesn't really bother me just because that's, like, standard marketing, right? You have to tell the audience why you're better than a competitor, so it's like, that's
Sure,
fine. They're hamming
sure.
up why a Spotify sucks or whatever. Um, so I was like, "Ooh, sure, yeah, right, music for ADHD." Click on it. There is a study. There is a study. This this blew my mind. So they have done a study, they published it, it's peer reviewed, and there are certain types of music that can help people with ADHD. Yeah, there are certain frequencies. So they did a test where they took people with ADHD and they had them do a sustained attention test, which is basically on a computer. You have to do something really, really boring, and they see how long you can like focus on it. And they tested it with fMRI and with EEG, and there are particular frequencies that work better for the ADHD brain.
Interesting. So this is compelling. Like I would be I'm curious about that. Because I haven't heard that, but I would be like it would be interesting to do a deep dive on that research paper and like take it apart and look at what it says it's doing. Because that's fascinating. Music is very effective. So music is and so what doesn't surprise me that music would play a role in that. Now the frequency thing I didn't realize, I didn't know that, which is why I'd be really interested to read that research paper and like there could be some really fascinating stuff to learn and take away from that.
We're gonna do a bonus episode with John explaining the paper because I don't know how to like read music terminology. And John is seeing this for the first time. But to give you a little teaser, I guess, I'm reading this from an article because I just couldn't understand the study itself because of the music terminology. I can understand brain stuff, but music, but it's a small sample. It's only 40 test subjects. So take that into account if you're
Mm,
on the fence
yeah,
about like
that's
spending money on this app. That's a really small sample. Um,
yeah.
but what they did find is that more intense rapid modulation helped people who scored higher on the ASRS. So people who had more ADHD symptoms, that intense rapid modulation, whatever the heck that means. And maybe in the bonus episode, we'll have John like play some snippets so that we can like understand what they're talking about.
Ooh, this one'll be fun. It'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun
Yeah.
to break down.
Yeah. For people who understand that now, before John breaks it down, that's what they have.
Yeah, so this one's interesting because like it's compelling. It looks like there could be something to this. If they wanted to make an app for ADHD music, that seems like a compelling marketplace. Like, I could understand wanting to make ADHD specific music, having just focused playlists. That sounds like something that would be worth creating and sharing. And if they want to say it's backed by science, then great. But I think the direction this ad should go is like one or two ways. Like um, either tell me you have a really, really good app that helps people with ADHD focus by having a curated music selection. Cool. I buy that. I'm curious about that. Or tell me you have a research study that looked at the science of how music helps people with ADHD. Sure, I would buy that there's research behind that. But give me something that tells me why you're making that claim. Simply saying that this is better than Spotify and using the word science makes me skeptical.
Yeah, so
Um,
we're cool with the app, but we wanna fire the marketing team.
yeah, I mean, but that said, the ad is well designed. Like, I mean, it uses like good typography, color. Like it looks like the ad is not like as far as like graphic design goes. Like the ad is not a bad design, not a bad layout.
See, John is like, "This is the perfect ad because he's got the design background, the music
Yeah.
background, like, this is
Uh-huh.
this is your moment."
Yeah, I know. It's like this ad is like it's like it's speaking to me. I'm surprised I have not been like I'm
Yeah,
served this
why
ad
am I getting
already.
targeted?
I think here's what I think. I think that I have really good ad blockers, and I think
Mm.
partially because I'm on a Mac, and I have good ad blockers with Safari and like the software that I use. So I'm just like not for whatever reason. I'm either not seeing it because of my ad blockers or I'm seeing this stuff and I'm just so desensitized that I'm completely ignoring it.
There you have it, folks. Ad blockers, they work. And
Yeah,
actually, I feel like
maybe.
that's, like,
I don't know.
low key an ADHD tip too. Like, I am really careful about, like, denying all cookies and stuff because all they're doing is making ads that are targeted to you and more compelling for you. And if you have ADHD, you're more impulsive with spending. Like, I feel like that is a basic ADHD, like, hygiene tip is, like, invest in ad blockers, block the cookies, because you will see products that you impulse buy and then you never use. So, like, let them show you the crappy ads that are, like, not targeted to you.
Because of impulsivity, you're right, that happens. Like, I was like the thing is, I don't mind targeted ads because like, I'd rather see a targeted ad that might be able to help me
But then you buy
more
it.
than, like, some random thing, but that's the thing. What happens is I always get like, "Oh, maybe I do need this."
Yeah.
And I've gotten some, like there's been some things that I've bought, like, things like, courses or, like, digital ebooks that I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. it's not that much." And then, like, I never open I bought it and I never opened it,
Totally.
or, like, I'll never use the thing. So, yeah, or like this one, like, I'll sign up for a subscription and then, like, forget to
Yeah.
cancel it. So that stuff does happen.
Yeah. Alright, you ready for the last one? This I saved the best for
Alright,
last.
okay, let's
Okay.
see, what's the last one? Alright. Wow, so this one is all over the place. Wow, okay. Got it. So it's called Live In, and they're doing a bunch of different types of ads. They all sort of look like newspaper clippings. Two of them have the whole like it's the seeing the it's like the colored dots with the letter in the middle, but the letter is different colors. It's what people use the colorblind test.
So it's like you'll see dots with 2 colors that are similar colors. So if you're, like, red, green colorblind, it might be, the outside is red and then the letter inside is green, and if you can't make it out because the colors look the same, then you're, like, colorblind.
Yeah. This is so like it's interesting the colorblind thing because the one you just texted me, it's it's such a cheesy ad. It looks like one of those like um optometrists or like glasses ads like from like the 90s, but it's a mountainous landscape with like sort of a forest, some trees. It's all black and white, and it says like colorblind glasses, but for ADHD, and ADHD is blocked out in purple. It's got a purple rectangle around ADHD, which is written in white. And it says built for people with ADHD by people with ADHD. And there's two fingers holding up a pair of glasses, and in that everything is like all purple and vibrant. So this is interesting. I don't quite.
Well, and you know the sad part? That's the one that actually legitimately got me because I thought it was actual physical glasses because I've seen products for people with dyslexia. Again, don't know how well it works because 'cause I'm not dyslexic, but my dad is. Um, and it's like lamps that have a particular flicker rate can apparently help you to read better.
Whoa.
And so there's stuff like that. There's particular fonts, where they add weight to one part of the letter as opposed to another to
Mm-hmm.
help your brain, sort it out. That stuff helps with dyslexia, and so I thought that this was literally glasses with some
Hmm.
sort of something, I don't know, changing the light or, I don't know, that would help you focus a little better, like literally glasses. But it's not. It's not literally glasses, it's an app.
Wow. Okay. This is crazy because it's all over the place. Like I said, they look like newspaper clippings, like just weird things. So one of them says, "Heal your inner child wounds: guilt wound, trust wound, neglect wound, abandonment wound. Take the test." The next one says, "ADHD is not about a lack of focus." Now, as an aside,
We're hearing that language again.
ADHD, yeah, it's using that language again, and like ADHD does mean you have trouble focusing. Like that's what that that's part of like the diagnostic criteria. So it actually kind of is about that. Um, but maybe it's not all about that. So and then there's like this like weird skeleton falling down a hill that says distractible, restless, combined, anxious. And then there's one that says the letter you see reveals your childhood trauma. The letter you see reveals your childhood reveals your ADHD type. Procrastination is not laziness; it is a depression response. That one again. Reveal your ADHD type. Inattentive, mix, hyperactive, anxious. So, wow. So it's going back to that personality test thing where it's like it, it it's these apps are definitely copying each other's headlines because people must be clicking on them.
I also wonder, like, do they have the same parent company or something? Like, or are they just, like, blatantly ripping each other off? I don't know, but it's, like, verbatim copying.
it's plausible they're ripping each other off. Clearly, this one's all over the place. They're trying a bunch of different stuff to test what works. So it's like in marketing and like in online ads, you would want to try a couple different ad types and then see which ones perform well and then do more of that ad type to depending on your segment. So they're trying a bunch of different things, seeing what works. I'm surprised you're seeing so many of these though, because
Yeah.
maybe it means maybe they're not as
I
focused,
think
but
that so I think these guys probably have a higher spend level. So once I clicked on
yeah,
it,
yeah,
they continue to push it to me. And they're very much running a lot of experiments. So I think what that's telling me is that a very high, yeah, very high spend level. And one of the
yeah,
things about digital marketing is that you can custom tailor stuff based on data about a user. And so Google, Facebook, all those companies have a lot of data about you. And so there was even scandals, I guess, sort of pseudo scandals, back during the first Trump election. He used a company called Cambridge Analytica to
I
help
remember
with
that.
the
Yeah.
digital marketing. And so they would basically use your Facebook data, categorize you into the big five personality tests. So Big Five is the one and only personality test that actually is sort of researched and accepted by psychology. All the other ones aren't really like empirically recognized as like being valid. But Big Five is used for marketing, and so it's like openness, agreeableness, neuroticism, and stuff like that. And they would change the ads, like literally the font color and stuff like that, to like a micro target you based off of your scores on the Big Five personality test. So, like, if you scored higher on neuroticism, they would push you ones that were more sort of fear-based, for example, because that showed,
Wow.
like, a more of a vulnerability, and so, not saying that the Liven app is doing it to that extent, but I do think that they are doing a lot of experimentation, and
Yeah.
I just continue to get more and more and more variations. I think I must have triggered it back in the day when I clicked on the ADHD glasses one, thinking it was like a physical product, and then ever
Huh.
since then, they've just been, and this has been for like a long time now, just sending me all these different variants of these different ads that are frankly like completely different, right? Like, so the ADHD is not about lack of focus one feels, I suppose, the closest to truth. And then they do actually have one that seems more legit. Reveal your ADHD type, and it lists inattentive, mixed, hyperactive, and then anxious. So they took the real ADHD types, which are like the hyperactive and the mixed and those, and then they threw in anxious. That's not really like a medically recognized flavor of ADHD. We just have
Yeah.
the three. But that one is like closer to reality. Um, and then the procrastination is a depression response. We already kind of covered that, but that's like starting to stray from reality. Heal your inner child wounds. Okay, now we're just using like buzzy psychology words and
Yeah.
co-opting medical terminology. And then the letter you see reveals your ADHD type and childhood trauma. Those are just like not even
Completely
rooted in reality at
ridiculous.
all. And so you
Just
just have this full
bonkers.
spectrum of like them experimenting, and you can see there's even like type changes. So I didn't manage to get a screenshot. I should have. The ADHD is not about lack of focus one. This one has skeletons, but I've also seen a variation where it's like human beings. So they're even running
Wow.
A/B tests on me where sometimes it's a skeleton and sometimes it's like a human man to see which
Huh.
one performs better. So they are changing the ads pretty dramatically and running some pretty complex experiments to try to like optimize and get the most clicks, which feels a little like ugh,
Yeah.
when it's like preying
Well,
on a vulnerable group of people.
yeah, and it's back to that personality type thing, right? Like dreamer, mix, perfectionist, overdoer, like all of these personality tests, like you fit into a box. And the thing about people with ADHD is like the things we have in common are the things we struggle with, but we don't fit into a box. We have a lot of various interests that like will vary like based on the novelty. Like new hobbies will come and go. Like we can like learn a new thing really fast. So our interests are ever changing, right? Like
I would
yeah,
argue, this is probably controversial, but I would argue that we are some of the most nuanced people on the planet. and are, like, the hardest to put in a box just because we have
Yeah.
such extreme experience where it's like you can
Yeah.
be so good at something and then so bad at something, or we
Yeah.
just have
Totally.
such a life of extremes that I think that we end up becoming very nuanced creatures that are very hard to put in a box. But I think
Very true.
part of that overwhelm that you experience when you're neurodivergent, because it's so hard to process all this stuff, it would be so nice to fit in a box. It would be so nice for something to be like, you are one of four. There are four types. You are
So that's
exactly one.
yeah.
You're not two. You're not zero. You're exactly one. And I think that that promise of structure and that promise of like someone who understands everything, we've got it. This app, your life is bad. Take this test. We will give you a categorization, and tomorrow your life will be good.
Yeah.
It's the structure, like the psychological structure that I think people crave and want to be true, but it's just reality is messy and gray, and um, that's just not how the world works. But it just feels predatory. Like
Yeah.
I get the micro targeting thing. If you're like a small business and you're like, I have t-shirts that I want to sell and I want to figure out the best way to reach the right people and make an impact, like fine, I understand the purpose of micro targeting, and that I'm glad that it can like help businesses, but like when it's for the purposes of an app that is supposed to help a vulnerable population. And keep in mind, like you as an ADHDer may be doing well and holding down a job with stable income. But that's not the case for all ADHDers. There are people out there who
Mhm.
are, like really, really serious mental health issues, like risk, like high risk populations, people who get laid off, unstable income. And so to target this group and promise that you can just cure everything, it feels extra scummy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So what was this app? Like, what is Live an app? What are they trying to do?
It's
Did you
just
click on
another
it?
planning app. I didn't really dig that deep because I was like, "You've lost all credibility." The ironic thing is their
Yeah.
Instagram page didn't seem that bad. Um, because I didn't wanna download the app, but I did look at their Instagram page. It didn't seem like it had, like, the most insightful thing, like, compared to any other
Sure.
ADHD, page. It also had like other mental health tips. It wasn't even really ADHD focused. And so it appears that I am getting targeted on the ADHD flavor or variant. I would assume that other people with other conditions are probably getting targeted on those conditions. Um, it had generic insights. It didn't. I was actually trying to look and see if they were like spreading misinformation on their Instagram. I didn't like cursory
Yeah.
glance. I did not deep dive here. Cursory
Yeah.
glance. I didn't really see anything bad. I didn't see anything life changing. And it's like, I don't get it. Like, use your freaking Instagram posts instead. Like, don't use these sort of like pseudoscience scummy ads. Just like use the stuff you've already made for your Instagram. I don't
So that's
understand.
that's what's that's what's interesting. So like the Instagram their Instagram page has a bunch of so it's branded. They have like consistent branding. And usually, so if when you're doing advertising with Meta and with Instagram specifically, you could post a bunch of you post your posts or your reels, and then you can look at how they perform. And the idea is like you want to the ones that performing the best, just in terms of like organic views, those are the ones you would push because you can assume that they'll do better. So you can actually like test your advertising campaign before you do an advertising campaign. So that's what to your point, why their advertising is so radically all over the place when they clearly have like a brand and consistent branding here. Like,
And it seems fine. It seems like a fine brand.
yeah, right, right. It's just yeah, it just looks like it says it's a self-discovery companion. So it's like some sort of self-discovery companion, cozy companion app with a system of tools to help you discover yourself, understand your experiences, and transform. So it looks kind of interesting. It's probably expensive, and it's probably who knows what it actually does. Like,
Yeah, we don't know if it actually works, but yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe it does. Again, I didn't test any of this. Like,
But again, the fact that there's an app that helps you track things and record things and like probably prompts you for stuff. The thing is, there's a lot of apps that do this. So this one is not particularly like it's just not unique. So maybe that's why they're trying all that random
Yeah.
ass marketing.
Yeah, that's what's so funny. The socials feel just not egregious, not particularly maybe, like,
Yeah,
just in the middle. But
sure.
the irony too, so I don't use Instagram, maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe they do use their Instagram posts if you are on Instagram, but a lot of these ads for me
Mm.
pop up when I am doing research, like, I'll be, like, on the National Institute of Health, like, reading something about, like, brain scans of people with ADHD, and then you just get this type of ad where it's like, "Heal your inner," like,
Yeah,
no, like, we're very much not in that sort of pseudoscience realm, like, I'm literally reading about the actual science. So it's very ironic, the ad placement sometimes. But I get
yeah.
that I'm probably not the average, internet, consumer and the average behaviors, compared to most
Mhm.
people.
Well, well, this was fun. This was interesting. We got to like look at some not so credible, weird predatory ads, as well as
Yeah.
like some interesting, maybe compelling ads.
Yeah, some were okay, some seem like I might actually go buy it.
And we learned a little bit about um advertising and marketing strategies. And we yeah, and how some of these companies might take dark patterns and do predatory tactics to get people to like it's interesting because it's like it's almost like they're tricking people into buying their product
Yeah.
rather than like selling a product that is actually helpful and useful. I think that's the thing. That's the thing that feels wrong and weird about this, right? When you think about the products that you've like and that you've bought in the past that have been useful and helpful, it's like I can't think of anything that ever sold me on a product. It's like, oh, this solves a problem that I have, so it must be useful. And then things I use all the time are great. And so when I'm looking at like ads, it's like that the things that are compelling are things that is from a maybe trusted source or somebody I know or it seems like it would fit into my life. Um, and something that I'm going to want to use. And so if you're a business and you're selling a product, you want your product to be useful. And so when you see all of these random different ads that feel like they're tricking you out of your money, it feels like a scam. And that's the thing that's the
Yeah.
thing here. And that's the unfortunate thing about I think what we're kind of like picking up here is that people with ADHD can be in some ways can be very skeptical and analytical, but they can also be at risk for a lot of reasons.
And impulsive.
And impulsive, right? And a lot of these ads sort of trivialize ADHD, and that only hurts all the things that already are against us in the public perception. And when you trivialize it that way, and then you have the scammy product that's like trying to trick you out of your money, it just makes it feel like it makes it harder to get help because it makes it feel like everything then if you especially if you've gone through a couple of these and it hasn't done anything, it makes it feel like it's hard to get help because what's going to help because I've gone through the thing and everyone's trying to scam me and trick me out of my money.
I'd be really curious
Yeah.
to know how many, like, quote, unquote, "things" people try before they give up. So that could be like, "I've tried 5 therapists," or it could be, "I've tried a therapist, I've tried meds, I've tried blah," or like, "I've tried an app," because I have to imagine there's some sort of average threshold, like, call it, like, 5 things. I don't really know for sure. I don't know if anyone's ever looked at this type of thing, but I can imagine after you try like 5 therapists, right? You'd feel pretty exhausted, or like if you've tried 5 medications, you'd be like, "Oh my god, nothing's ever gonna work for me." Um, I kind of feel like these apps almost use up a slot, if that makes sense.
Huh.
Like if you're like, "Hey, oh,
Yeah.
this app is gonna fix it for me," and then you try it and then it doesn't work, it starts to like set you down the path of feeling discouraged.
Right.
And there is a certain point when I feel like people, again, very high risk people, probably kind of give up. And it's a shame that this is the thing that they're giving up on.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know, maybe these are like the best apps in the world. I didn't test any of them out. Sorry, y'all. Like, I'll do anything for you, but not that. And so um maybe they are, but it's like if they are, just tell me why it's a good product. Like, just literally tell me like this app stands out because we help habituate patterns in these ways for you, or like we make lists easier for these reasons, or like I don't know, just
Yeah.
like tell me what
Right.
about your app
Right.
makes it different from the rest.
Yeah. That's interesting because like I think some of the scamminess that comes across it that it's those things that are not working where they're tricking you out of your money that makes it that adds to that overwhelm and and that burnout from this stuff. But even to the point of like you looked at the ads, but you're not going to try the apps. Now, actually, if that's something people are curious about, I would do that. I would be willing to like let's try something. Maybe not this app unless people were curious, but I would yeah if like if that's something people want.
We'll get a fake credit card first and then paid credit card.
If that's something people want, yeah. If you want to, if you're curious about like these apps you want to review, put it in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what apps you want me to try. Let me know like if that's something that you actually want. I would be interested in like doing a review of different productivity apps, different ADHD apps, using them for like a week at a time or whatever, and just seeing what works, what sticks, and then like recommending some or not recommending some. That could be an interesting episode right there, right? Like just like talking about the things that are working. Um, if there's a desire for that kind of review, that kind of like content. Um, but yeah, as a starting point, yeah, this has been a fun one, and definitely taken us down a winding path.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad I don't have to screenshot ads anymore or click on them because I've been gathering data for a while. And stay tuned for our next episode, which I think is going to be John breaking down that music study. I'm excited to hear about it and literally hear it too, because I just have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun.